I watched my twin sister walk down the aisle in my wedding dress, marrying my ex-fiancé, while our entire family smiled and took pictures. And you know what? I smiled too. Because 3 months earlier I'd made sure she'd never see a single dollar of the $2 million trust fund she'd been counting on her entire life. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story starts 2 years ago, when I still believed my sister actually loved me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Lily, and for 27 years, I thought being an identical twin was supposed to mean having a built-in best friend for life. Rose and I came into this world together, shared a room growing up, wore matching outfits until we were 12, and finished each other's sentences like some kind of party trick our parents loved showing off to relatives. We grew up in what most people would call privilege. Our grandfather built a real estate empire from absolutely nothing, and by the time Rose and I were born, our family had more money than we knew what to do with. But here's what nobody tells you about growing up wealthy with a twin sister who looks exactly like you: it becomes a competition you never signed up for. And I spent most of my life losing without even realizing I was playing. Rose was always the fun one. That's what everyone said. The spontaneous one. The life of the party. I was the responsible one. The boring one. The one who actually did her homework and showed up on time and didn't sneak out of the house at 15 to go to college parties. And somehow that became my job in the family. Being responsible meant being the one who accommodated Rose's chaos. When Rose got detention for skipping class, she'd forge my signature on the parent notification form, and I'd be the one sitting in the principal's office while my parents lectured me about responsibility. When I tried to explain it was Rose, my mom would pat my hand and say, "She's just being playful, honey. You know how your sister is." Like that made it okay. Like being twins meant I was supposed to just accept being her scapegoat. It kept happening. Senior year of high school, I'd been talking to this guy, Daniel, for months. We were supposed to go to prom together. The week before prom, Rose called him pretending to be me and told him I was actually interested in someone else. He took another girl. When I found out what she'd done, Rose cried and said she thought it would be funny, that she didn't think he'd actually believe her. My dad told me I was being too sensitive. That it was just twin stuff. That I needed to learn to take a joke. So I swallowed it. I forgave her. Because that's what you do for family, right? College was supposed to be different. We went to different schools, had different majors, different lives for the first time ever. But Rose had a way of bleeding into my world no matter how much distance I tried to create. Junior year, I had this huge presentation for my marketing class. 20% of my final grade. I'd worked on it for weeks. The morning of the presentation, Rose called me crying, saying she was having a panic attack at her school 3 hours away and needed me to come get her. So I drove there, missed my presentation, and got a 0. Except when I got to her campus, she wasn't having a panic attack. She was fine. She just wanted me to drive her to some guy's house because she didn't have gas money. When I confronted her about making me miss something so important, she broke down sobbing, said she was struggling, that she needed help, that she didn't know who else to call. And like an idiot, I forgave her. Because she's my twin. Because family is family. Because I'd been trained my entire life to be the bigger person. Then there was the internship incident. I'd landed an interview with a prestigious marketing firm in the city. Dream opportunity. I'd prepared for weeks. The day of the interview, I showed up and the interviewer looked confused. Said they'd already met with me yesterday and I'd made quite an impression. Rose had shown up pretending to be me, bombed the interview with her complete lack of knowledge about marketing, and cost me the opportunity. When I confronted her, she said she just wanted to feel successful like me for once. That she was tired of being the screw-up twin. My parents made me apologize to her for making her feel inadequate. I actually apologized. For her stealing my identity and ruining my career opportunity. Let that sink in. But I kept making excuses for her. She's struggling. She's insecure. She doesn't mean it. She's my sister. We're supposed to stick together. That's what I told myself every single time she hurt me. Every single time she took something from me and made it about her pain, her struggles, her needs. I convinced myself that being the responsible twin meant being responsible for her feelings too. After college, things seemed to calm down for a while. I landed my dream job at a boutique marketing firm in the city. That's where I met Marcus. He was a junior partner, smart, ambitious, kind. We started dating, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had something that was completely mine, something Rose couldn't touch. We dated for 2 years before he proposed at our grandfather's 80th birthday party. It should have been the happiest moment of my life. And it was, until I looked over at Rose during the proposal and saw her face. Just for a second, before she plastered on that fake smile, I saw something dark flash across her expression. Something cold. Then she raised her champagne glass and made a toast that made everyone laugh but made my stomach turn. To my sister, who always gets everything she wants. The way she said it, the edge in her voice. I felt uncomfortable but pushed it down. She cornered me after the party, got close to my face and asked, "You don't really think you're better than me, right?" I hugged her, reassured her, asked her to be my maid of honor, because that's what I always did. I made myself smaller so Rose could feel bigger. I should have trusted my instincts, but I didn't. And that decision cost me everything. Hit that like button if you're already feeling the frustration, because trust me, it gets so much worse before it gets better. And stick around, because what Rose does next is going to make your blood boil. You won't believe how far she takes this. The company holiday party invitation sat on my kitchen counter for 2 weeks. Marcus kept mentioning how important it was, how major clients would be there, how he wanted to show me off to the senior partners. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. I'd even bought a new red dress, the kind that made me feel confident and beautiful, the kind of dress that said I belonged in Marcus's world. The morning of the party, I woke up feeling slightly off. By noon, I was violently ill. Food poisoning, the kind that keeps you hugging the toilet and praying for mercy. Rose happened to be visiting that week, staying at my apartment because she'd gotten into some fight with her roommate. She made me soup, tucked me into bed, played the concerned sister role perfectly. When I called Marcus at 4 in the afternoon, barely able to speak, devastated that I'd have to miss the party, Rose rubbed my back and made sympathetic noises. "Oh no, you were so excited about tonight. I'm so sorry, sis." Her voice dripped with concern. I took the medicine she gave me and fell asleep around 7, my stomach still churning. I woke up at midnight to my phone absolutely exploding. 47 missed calls. 89 text messages. My heart started pounding before I even unlocked the screen. Messages from Marcus: "We need to talk. Now. I can't believe you. Don't call me." Messages from coworkers: "I barely knew. What the hell were you thinking? This is so inappropriate. I thought you were engaged." There was even a voicemail from Marcus's mother, her voice cold and disgusted. "You are not the woman I thought you were. My son deserves better than this." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called Marcus. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. Panic was clawing up my throat. I scrolled through my contacts with trembling fingers and called Jessica, my closest friend from work. She answered on the first ring, her voice shocked. "Lily? Oh my God, you're actually calling me right now. What's going on?" My voice came out as a whisper. "Jessica, what happened?" There was a long pause. Then she said the words that made my entire world tilt sideways. "You showed up to the party. Around 8. You were all over Marcus." "What?" "No, I've been homesick all night. I never left my apartment." "Lily, I saw you. Everyone saw you. You were wearing that red dress you showed me last week. You were kissing Marcus in front of everyone, sitting on his lap, being completely inappropriate with clients. Then you got drunk and made this whole scene about how the engagement was suffocating you, how you felt trapped. And then," Jessica's voice dropped, "then you left with David, the senior partner. Multiple people saw you go into a hotel room with him. There are photos, Lily. Videos. It's all over the office group chat." The room was spinning. I stumbled out of bed and went to my closet with the phone still pressed to my ear. My red dress was gone. The one I'd bought specifically for tonight. I tore through the hangers, knowing what I'd find. Nothing. I went to my bathroom. My makeup bag had been ransacked, products scattered everywhere, my favorite lipstick missing. Rose's shoes were still by my front door. But Rose wasn't in my apartment. "Jessica, it wasn't me." My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. "That was my sister. My twin sister Rose." The silence on the other end told me everything. "Lily, that sounds really far-fetched. I know you're upset, but..." I hung up. My hands moved on autopilot, opening Instagram, finding Rose's profile. She rarely posted, maybe once every few months. But there it was, posted 2 hours ago, a mirror selfie in my red dress, my lipstick, my jewelry. The caption made my vision go red. Sometimes you have to take what you deserve. The comments were from people I didn't recognize. You killed it tonight. Marcus is so lucky. That dress was everything. I called Rose. Straight to voicemail. I called again, and again. Nothing. I didn't sleep. I sat on my bathroom floor until sunrise, my phone clutched in my hand, my mind racing through every terrible possibility. Rose had impersonated me. At my workplace. With my fiancé. With my colleagues and clients. She'd destroyed everything I'd built. And she'd done it while I was unconscious in my own bed. She showed up at 9 the next morning, chipper and bright, holding 2 coffee cups like nothing had happened. Hey, how are you feeling? Still sick. I stared at her from my position on the couch. I hadn't moved in hours. What did you do? Her smile didn't falter. What do you mean? You went to my company party, as me. Something flickered across her face, just for a second. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, come on. You were sick. I was helping. I networked for you. You should be thanking me. You kissed my fiancé. My voice was flat, emotionless. I was beyond screaming. You slept with my boss. You ruined my reputation. You destroyed my career. Rose's mask finally dropped. The concerned sister act evaporated, replaced by something ugly and satisfied. Marcus kissed me back, Lily. Enthusiastically. Maybe he liked me better. Ever think of that? Maybe he's been with the wrong twin this whole time. She leaned against my kitchen counter, casual, like we were discussing the weather. And honestly, no one can even prove it wasn't you. We're identical, remember? That's the beautiful part. Your word against physical evidence. Photos. Witnesses. Who are they going to believe? Why? It was the only word I could manage. Because I'm tired of living in your shadow. Her voice was venomous now, all pretense gone. Miss Perfect. Grandfather's favorite. The successful one. The one with the career and the fiancé and the perfect little life. Do you know what it's like being your twin? Being compared to you every single day of my life? I'm done. I'm done being the screw-up. If I can't build my own life, I'll just take yours. She left. Just walked out like she hadn't just admitted to destroying everything I cared about. An hour later, Marcus showed up. He wouldn't look at me. Wouldn't listen when I tried to explain. This is insane, Lily. People don't just impersonate each other at work events. That's a psychotic excuse. Just own what you did. He put my engagement ring on the table and walked out of my life. I called my parents, desperate, crying so hard I could barely speak. My mother's response, Lily, this sounds far-fetched. Rose wouldn't do that. Are you sure you didn't go and just don't remember? Food poisoning can cause confusion. My father agreed. They actually suggested I'd blacked out and forgotten attending the party myself. That evening, Rose posted another photo. Her and Marcus at a restaurant, holding hands across the table, both smiling. The caption, when you realize the right person was in front of you all along. I stared at that photo for 10 minutes straight. Something inside me didn't break. It crystallized, hardened into something cold and sharp and calculating. Rose wanted to destroy me? She wanted to take everything I'd built and burn it down? Fine. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd forgotten that I've always been smarter, more thorough, more patient. I opened my laptop and started digging into every corner of Rose's life. And I was about to prove exactly why you should never underestimate the responsible twin. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I became obsessed, methodical, building a case like my life depended on it. Because in a way it did. I went through everything. Old emails, bank statements, social media archives, text message threads from years ago. I built a timeline of every suspicious moment, every time something in my life went wrong and Rose was conveniently nearby. The pattern was sickening once I saw it clearly. I found emails in my sent folder that I never wrote. Job applications to companies I never applied to, all sent while I was provably somewhere else. I cross-referenced them with my credit card statements, my location data, everything. I contacted my old college roommate, Sarah, who I hadn't spoken to in years. She was hesitant at first, but when I explained what was happening, she admitted something that made my blood run cold. Rose had bragged to her once, drunk at a party, about switching places with me for that presentation. She'd laughed about it. Thought it was hilarious that I'd gotten a 0. Sarah had assumed I knew and was okay with it. I found Rose's old blog. She'd written under a pseudonym, thought she was anonymous. Posts from 5 years ago about her insufferable perfect sister who needed to be taught humility. Detailed descriptions of things she'd done to me, framed as justified revenge for my arrogance. Reading my own sister's hatred for me, spelled out in black and white, was like swallowing glass. Then I went to the hotel where the party had been held. I explained the situation to security, showed them my ID, explained that someone had impersonated me. The security supervisor was sympathetic. He pulled the footage. There I was on camera, entering the hotel at 8:17, arm in arm with David. Except it wasn't me. I had the delivery receipt from that night. I'd ordered soup from a restaurant at 8:15. The driver had texted me at 8:23 confirming he'd left it at my door. I was home, sick, while someone wearing my face destroyed my career. I compiled everything into a single document. Security footage, time-stamped receipts, screenshots of Rose's blog posts, witness statements, email headers proving account access from Rose's devices, financial records showing she'd opened credit cards in my name. This wasn't sibling rivalry. This was identity fraud spanning over a decade, and I finally had proof. My grandfather's estate felt different when I arrived. Bigger, colder. He was waiting for me in his study, the room where he conducted all his important business. I sat across from his massive oak desk and slid the folder toward him. He didn't speak, just opened it and started reading. I watched his face change as he went through page after page. His jaw tightened, his eyes hardened. When he finally looked up at me, I saw something I'd never seen before. My grandfather was truly angry. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" His voice was rough. I thought about lying, making excuses. Instead, I told him the truth. Because I kept making excuses for her. Because I thought family meant accepting abuse. Because I was taught to be the bigger person. But I'm done being small. He nodded slowly, still looking at the evidence. Then he told me something that made everything click into place. Rose had been calling him for months, asking for money, claiming she was struggling while I had it easy, telling him I was selfish, that I refused to help her. He'd been considering splitting his estate 60-40 in her favor because she seemed to need it more. She'd been playing everyone, even him. "Your grandmother and I built this wealth for family who would honor it," he said quietly. "Rose has honored nothing. She's manipulated, stolen, and destroyed. That ends now." 3 days later, my grandfather called a family dinner. Everyone had to attend. My parents came. Rose showed up with Marcus on her arm, playing the devoted girlfriend. She was glowing, confident. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. We all sat around the dining table, and my grandfather stood at the head, commanding silence. "I've made some decisions about my estate planning." Rose perked up. She'd always known about the trust fund. $2 million split between us, with her getting the larger portion. I watched her face, watched her think this was her moment. "I'm removing Rose entirely from my will and trust fund." The words hung in the air like smoke. Rose's smile faltered. "What? Grandpa, this is..." He held up his hand. "Let me finish." Then he laid it all out. Every piece of evidence. Every instance of impersonation. Every act of fraud. He'd had his assistant create a presentation, and he showed it on the screen behind him. Security footage of Rose entering the hotel. Screenshots of her blog. The timeline of destruction spanning years. My parents went pale. Marcus looked like he might be sick. Rose's face cycled through shock, denial, rage. "Lily made this up." She was shouting now, desperate. "She's jealous that Marcus chose me." My grandfather's voice cut through her panic like ice. "There's security footage, Rose. Timestamps. Financial records. A decade of evidence. You didn't just hurt your sister. You committed fraud. You destroyed her career, her relationship, her reputation. The trust fund, all $2 million, goes entirely to Lily. Furthermore, I'm removing you from any inheritance. You get nothing." Rose completely unraveled. Screaming. Throwing her wine glass. Calling me every vile name she could think of. "This isn't fair. You've always loved her more. Lily always gets everything." My grandfather remained unmoved. "Lily earned respect through integrity. You demanded it through manipulation. There's a difference." Rose turned on Marcus, grabbing his arm. Tell them you love me." Marcus stood up, his face twisted with disgust. "You pretended to be your sister. I kissed you thinking you were Lily. That's..." He couldn't finish. He just walked out. Rose looked at me with pure, undiluted hatred. "I hope you're happy." I met her eyes calmly. "I'm not happy, but I'm finally free." 6 months later, I'm sitting in a new apartment in a different city. New job. Fresh start. Therapy helped me understand that protecting yourself isn't cruel, it's necessary. I heard through family channels that Rose had to move back in with our parents. Marcus eventually went back to her. They're apparently working through it. I got their wedding invitation last week. I laughed and threw it away. I don't need closure from people who never valued me. The trust fund money is sitting in my account. I donated half to organizations helping victims of identity fraud. The rest is funding the life Rose said I didn't deserve. Turns out, she was right about one thing. I do get what I want, because I work for it honestly, and I never let anyone make me feel guilty for expecting basic human decency. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and feel free to share your story or opinions in the comments.